sections, there will be, it's not really a huge requirement, and I can't even remember whether it's in the brief. I'm going to add it into the brief if it isn't on the brief already. That is to put some of the botanic names, right? But don't get too wound up about it. It's just to get you into the habit of recognizing the plants and attaching a botanic name to them, right? So the first one right behind me, which you'll see in quite a lot of the areas, right, in the campus, is Rhododendron pulchrum. What we'll do is, Dan's recording this, right, so that you can watch it later and pick up the names if you don't manage to pick them up now. Rhododendron, Rhododendron, right? And pulchrum, Pulchrum. Pulchrum means beautiful in Latin, right? And we even have an English word, pulchritudinous, which comes from that Latin root, right? So pulchrum, Dogun, Hama, Chungman, right? So, but to you now, landscape architects, it's Rhododendron pulchrum, okay? And this is a shrub. Normally you see this kind of size. It can get about as tall as me, but not much more. So trees and shrubs, you know, we divide the plants into various groupings: trees, shrubs, ground covers, herbaceous plants, aquatic plants, what else? Palms, palm trees, bamboos. I think that's about it. But so we have these main classifications. And one of the big questions, of course, is what's the difference between a tree and a shrub, right? So here we've got quite obvious differences. The tree here, and this one is a cassia, Cassia. Its full name is Cassia javanica indochinensis, right? Don't worry too much about the names, okay? Jan or I we may type out the names of the plants that we see on this walk, right? Because we've got the recording, so I think that's only fair to give you that. But I just wanted to get into the habit. The reason, of course, that we have the botanic names, I think I mentioned to you before, which are mostly Latin and ancient Greek, is because nobody speaks Latin and ancient Greek, right? So you don't have a huge political flare-up, you know, because if we choose French, right, the English and the Americans will complain. If you choose English, then the French will complain, and the Russians will complain, whatever it is. If it isn't Russian, and, you know, everybody will complain. So better to use a dead language. But, so Cassia javanica is this tree here. There was another tree here before, until about 8 years ago. There was a great big Seklot tree here before. Yeah, there used to be. I mean, we'll see some of those in the next area where we're going in a minute. That tree eventually died, or it just got more and more knackered. I think, you know, there was a lot of construction around it, and over the years it just got, you know, it just got old and ran out of growing space, and it was cut down, and this planted about 3 years ago, Cassia javanica. And javanica means of Java, right, in Indonesia. So, and it should, I don't know whether it'll do it this spring. It has not flowered yet. Maybe it will this spring, we'll see, about April. And it has this fantastic pink and white flowers. It's really spectacular. There's a great big one next to the Murray Hotel in Central. A very famous big one next to the Murray Hotel in Central. Anyway, we'll see. But the tree.
Sorry, can I ask a question? Like, just now you mentioned when the tree died, we chopped it off. So what will happen, like, after chopping off the tree? Where will it go?
I guess it probably went into landfill, sadly, right? Which is extremely stupid, but there. That's what often happens. The government has now set up a composting facility which is supposed to take a lot of the cuttings and a lot of the kind of grass cuttings and chopped trees and stuff like that. But how much actually goes into recycling and how much gets recycled into compost, right, which then goes back onto the planting areas in theory. How much actually gets recycled, how much ends up in landfill, I don't know. I mean, it was quite a big tree. It had a trunk about this thick, you know. But the trees usually have a single stem, right? A single trunk, normally. And they are capable of creating a canopy over our heads. That's my personal definition for trees. If it can make a green canopy over your head so that you can stand in the shade, then it's a tree, right? Shrubs are multi-stemmed. You can see many stems coming up, no one single stem, right? And they're usually lower down, you know, they're not able to make a canopy over our heads. However, there are many plants that are, you sometimes find big trees with many stems, right? And you sometimes find shrubs which can grow with just one or two stems and then form a little bit of a canopy, right? So there are intermediate, it's not a strict definition. It's difficult to define, actually. So I think the easiest thing is, well, if I'm in the shade, I'm under a tree. If I'm not in the shade, I'm not under a tree, right? So Rhododendron pulchrum, we'll see lots of these. You'll see lots of these around the campus. And it's now, what is it, beginning of March. It's really a bit early for it to be flowering. Traditionally, they flowered at the, when you guys are doing exams. So the flowers traditionally came out at the exam time, right? But the climate is changing and things are flowering much earlier than they used to because it's warming up.